Everyone loves a polished Hollywood story until the cracks start to show. Suddenly, that glossy image we see on the red carpet begins to blur, and real people with complicated motives take center stage. Today, that blur has landed right in Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's backyard, dragging in Justin Baldoni and the ever-outspoken Joe Rogan. If you assumed this was just another celebrity spat, strap in. We're dealing with rumored sabotage, a monstrous lawsuit, and a high-stakes publicity war that only seems to get wilder by the day. Joe Rogan, famed for telling it like it is, sometimes too bluntly, has basically kicked open the door on what looks like a hidden battle. Baldoni, known for being thoughtful, almost quiet, finds himself locking horns with Hollywood royalty. Odd combination, right? But behind the polite smiles and social media witticisms, accusations are flying. According to Baldoni, he got hit with a coordinated strike that cast him as a workplace menace, just so he'd lose control of a film he was directing. Why would two major A-listers stoop to underhanded tactics? That's the million-dollar question, or more accurately, the $400 million question, if Baldoni's lawsuit is to be believed. The high-level drama seems to involve more than just creative disagreements or snippy behavior on set. We're talking about claims of weaponizing social movements and turning them into personal stepping stones to seize a whole production. It's not every day you hear that kind of accusation hurled at two of Hollywood's most beloved personalities. Yet here we are, unearthing texts, voice notes, and on-set diaries that challenge the image the public once saw as charming and harmless. And Joe Rogan, he's not just a bystander. He's the guy with a megaphone, broadcasting to millions who might otherwise never give a second glance to movie industry drama. Why is Rogan's take such a big deal? Simple. His audience is massive, and it's not your typical Hollywood fan base. His reach extends from die-hard MMA fans to comedy buffs to everyday folks who rarely follow showbiz gossip. So when he calls out Ryan and Blake for allegedly misusing claims of harassment to dethrone Baldoni, ears perk up in places that never gave a hoot about who's starring in what. Suddenly, men and women who'd never watch an entertainment news show are discussing NDAs, set tensions, and questionable lawsuits. Rogan's open comparison to the Johnny Depp vs. Amber Heard saga definitely helped. He recalled how a beloved star's accusations initially swayed public opinion until evidence emerged that painted a starkly different picture. The result? A cultural wake-up call about verifying claims before rushing to take sides. Rogan is essentially hinting that the same flip might happen here, urging people to hold off on canonizing Lively until the actual proof surfaces. Now, none of this implies that every serious accusation in Hollywood is false. Rogan's not making a blanket statement about all harassment claims. Instead, he's underlining a dangerous possibility that some high-profile figures might exploit real movements for purely personal advantages. If that's what happened here, it's a manipulative move that betrays not just Baldoni, but genuine victims who rely on these movements to seek justice. Let's delve into those receipts that Baldoni's so confident about. We're talking text messages, voice recordings, and what appear to be documented phone calls. One of the biggest bombshells revolves around the breastfeeding trailer incident. According to Lively, Baldoni barged in unannounced at a deeply vulnerable moment. It's a huge claim. If any man truly invades a nursing mother's privacy, it's rightfully viewed as invasive. But Baldoni has receipts suggesting the opposite. Apparently, there was an explicit invitation text. If that's accurate, this revelation completely inverts the narrative, making Lively's version seem manufactured. It doesn't end there. Baldoni's proof reportedly extends to conversations about on-set decisions, including who was being replaced or fired. Some messages hint that Lively demanded changes without consulting others, basically taking the helm. More than one crew member was apparently caught off guard, including the film's composer, who claims Lively personally told him she was in control now. If true, that's a decisive power move, not exactly the portrait of a powerless victim battling an oppressive boss. Bear in mind, these are claims from Baldoni's side. Still, they're accompanied by a trove of digital evidence. Without them, it might be easy for fans to assume he's spinning tall tales. But in the age of screenshots and voice memos, words don't just vanish into thin air. They get immortalized on devices in the cloud, waiting to be turned into exhibits A, B, and C. Rogan's stance is straightforward. If you've got that level of proof, you deserve a fair hearing rather than an instant label as the villain. Of course, we can't ignore Ryan Reynolds in this. He's the comedic darling who broke box office records with Deadpool, capturing hearts with his sarcastic, self-deprecating humor. People love the Ryan Reynolds brand, which is basically an extension of him. Witty social media posts, whimsical business ventures like Aviation Gin and Mint Mobile, and an overall vibe of, I'm just a jokester who can laugh at myself. But for the first time, we're seeing fans ask if that persona might be a facade. Rogan alleges that Reynolds tried to weasel out of the looming legal storm by distancing himself from the accusations, only to find out the courts won't let him tiptoe away that easily. Baldoni's lawsuit names him as a key participant. The implication: Reynolds wasn't just a clueless bystander. He might have helped orchestrate the pressure campaign to paint Baldoni as a workplace menace. One rumor says Reynolds used his considerable pull to get agencies or major players to pull away from Baldoni, crippling his career. If that's even partly true, it's a deeply unflattering look for the guy once regarded as the epitome of nice. Fans have begun to speak out online, some going so far as to toss out or hide Deadpool merch. Aviation Gin's once celebrated marketing is suspiciously quieter, while Mint Mobile's social channels seem to go into stealth mode for a bit. To many, this looks like a PR scramble. How do you maintain your brand of funny, self-aware guy while facing allegations of backroom dealings? Enter the $400 million lawsuit, an eye-popping figure that might seem theatrical until you realize the broad scope of the allegations. Baldoni has hit them with everything from defamation to extortion claims, essentially accusing them of orchestrating a smear job so extensive that it effectively derailed his life and livelihood. That's not chump change or a nuisance suit. It's the legal equivalent of launching a rocket straight into the heart of Hollywood's hush-hush culture. Major publications didn't escape the blast either. Baldoni's target list includes no less than the New York Times, indicating he believes certain big-name journalists helped fan the flames without properly investigating the real story. If he's right, this case could highlight how sometimes even the most respected outlets might run a sensational narrative first and worry about nuanced fact-checking later. In a broader sense, the lawsuit could mark a turning point in Hollywood if Baldoni emerges victorious. For decades, the approach to controversies has often been hush them up, settle in private, or bury them with carefully curated spin. However, if a judge or jury sides with Baldoni's mountains of text messages and voice recordings, we might see a shift in how quickly and thoroughly the media leaps to side with famous accusers. The days of A-lister makes claim, tabloids believe it. Rogan's involvement isn't just a cameo. By broadcasting his blunt take to millions, he blew open a conversation that had been simmering in smaller circles. Suddenly, it's not only entertainment junkies who care, it's everyone from suburban dads to martial arts fans. He's hammered home the point: we should be cautious when big stars point fingers, especially if the evidence to the contrary is piling up. Plenty of observers have also noted that Hollywood's trust game is changing. After the Depp-Heard roller coaster, a lot of people learned the hard way that public opinion can do a 180 once evidence surfaces. Baldoni is seizing that post-Depp moment, fueling it with digital proof. He's playing the role of an underdog who's been pushed too far and has the screenshots to prove it. Audiences love a redemption arc, especially one that involves outsmarting celebrities who think they're untouchable. A big chunk of Rogan's argument centers on the question: if Lively was truly powerless and fearful, how could she single-handedly fire staff, ban Baldoni from set decisions, and even dictate who worked as composer? It's a glaring contradiction that's making many of Lively's longtime supporters pause. The more they learn, the more they suspect that fearful victim might not be the correct label for someone who apparently wields real power on set. Meanwhile, the public is watching each new twist in fascination, and sometimes outright fury. The internet can be relentless. One day you're adored for your comedic tweets. The next, you're trending for all the wrong reasons. Ryan Reynolds is finding this out the hard way. Once a darling of comedic interviews, he's now facing a wave of criticism from people who are rethinking their admiration. Fans are rummaging through older comments, looking for red flags they might have missed. Did he make jokes that now sound tone-deaf or manipulative? Blake Lively also isn't escaping scrutiny. She's known for championing female empowerment and philanthropic causes, but if she really turned a legitimate social movement into a personal crowbar for pushing aside a director, that undercuts her entire platform. Real activism aims to uplift and protect, not dethrone and seize control. Every time new evidence from Baldoni surfaces, more people hop off the "I believe Blake" train. All of this leads to a bigger question. How many times has Hollywood pulled off something like this without the public noticing? If not for Baldoni's willingness to file that lawsuit and release his own evidence, this might have ended in a quiet career implosion. He could have been written off as that questionable director, while the Reynolds Lively empire rolled on. But now that it's a major scandal, folks are wondering if other big names might have used similar tactics. Only nobody dared to speak up. There's another layer: the brand meltdown. Ryan's smiling face is plastered on everything from gin bottles to cell phone plans. At one point, this synergy seemed unstoppable. Audiences saw him as that approachable celeb who doesn't take himself too seriously, and brand managers loved capitalizing on his humor. But as the controversy rages, brand officials appear to be taking a big step back. Some promotional pages went private, others slowed their social media updates, presumably waiting to see if the worst blows over, or if a legal bombshell is about to obliterate their star pitchman's image. Consumers aren't easily fooled. If they suspect a brand is run by someone complicit in misleading the public, they'll bail, often en masse. This might be part of why Reynolds is allegedly scrambling to exit the lawsuit. But if the courts say, nope, you're staying, his brand partners could panic. With $400 million on the table, any business tied to Reynolds might fear a meltdown scenario where public anger morphs into actual boycotts and lost revenues. People on the internet often talk about cancel cultures, but in this situation, it feels more like accountability culture. If you're messing with a person's life using dirty tactics, you'd better be ready for the blowback. Baldoni's allegations are thorough, and combined with Rogan's commentary, they've got the internet zeroing in on Reynolds' every move. It's a precarious position for a once unassailable star. Meanwhile, Reynolds' carefully curated image is also taking punch after punch. One moment he's retweeting comedic jabs at himself, the next, fans are labeling him fake for allegedly employing Hollywood power brokers to torpedo Baldoni's career. The comedic anti-hero persona only works if people believe you have a moral core beneath the sarcasm. Once you're viewed as someone who aligns with intimidation tactics, the jokes land differently. They lose their sparkle. Marketing experts are dissecting how Reynolds might try to save face. Some guess he'll hunker down, avoiding public events until the lawsuit simmers. Others think he might do an exclusive tell-all, explaining why he believed the allegations at first or how he was misled. Will that be enough to regain the public's trust? Hard to say. This scandal has its teeth in deep. The cynics among us might roll their eyes. Hollywood drama is cyclical, they say. People have short memories, and a big enough PR campaign can fix almost anything. But here, the internet is the wild card. Screenshots don't disappear, and Joe Rogan's audience loves to archive receipts. If Lively and Reynolds try to spin one story, an army of internet sleuths stands ready to counter with factual anomalies. Balancing that fiasco could be one of the biggest reputational challenges they've ever faced. In the end, this tangled tale of hidden agendas, lawsuits, and revealed text messages might rewrite the unspoken rules of Hollywood. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively arrived at the top with charm and comedic flair, and they cultivated an image that seemed unbreakable. Justin Baldoni, the seemingly gentle director, found himself cast as a villain until he flipped the narrative and laid out his evidence. Joe Rogan fanned the flames by beaming that evidence to millions who typically avoid celebrity drama, forcing a mainstream reckoning that demands actual proof rather than just glitzy statements. Whether you suspect Baldoni's receipts point to a carefully staged hit job, or you still think Lively and Reynolds got blindsided, you can't deny that this fiasco exposes how fragile star images can be in the age of digital receipts. One moment, you're the darling of comedic Twitter posts. The next, you're shutting down brand pages and blocking fans, wondering how everything went sideways. For those tired of watching big names manipulate narratives with zero accountability, this showdown feels long overdue. The final chapter isn't written yet, but it might shift the balance in Tinseltown, reminding everyone, stars, studios, journalists, that claims can and should be checked. Real feminism doesn't hide behind power moves. Real justice doesn't rely on hush money. Real stories don't vanish at the first whiff of a threat. And if there's one lesson from the entire fiasco, it's that illusions crumble quickly when confronted with raw, undeniable proof. Buckle up, because the only thing that's certain is that this ride isn't over.